some of the trends and stuff that's coming in 2024. And I think, and I'll kind of lead off with what these are mentioning. We kind of discussed certain phases of them. The number one that they had on here was the blurring of physical and digital. And so whether that's with kind of the VR, AR stuff that we've kind of talked about before in the past, as far when I went into VR initially, and was one of the things I got excited about, and I've got other friends that are kind of doing the same thing, is that you can kind of create like a virtual reality shop. So whether it's you can buy something in VR that you would get physically is one of those things, whether you have a bunch of t-shirt designs where say you're going into these different hubs and kind of see, hey, this is a Nike hub or this is an iMagnet hub and we have stuff for sale, whether it's t-shirts, mugs, hats, and you can kind of see how it looks within, and obviously it's going to have to evolve as far as the technology of kind of seeing, well, that's how am I going to know what this is in VR versus how it's going to look in real life.
Yep.
But it goes along with plenty of kids, whether it's Fortnite. I know one of the games I played, Pop One, it's different skins, different costumes, and different things that people would pay for. And there's obviously the game that I would play, people put a lot of money into different, like just costumes and stuff. And I'm like, you're spending money on something that's in my head is almost meaningless, but it means something to them, whether they have disposable income. And so it's whether you're someone within marketing or you have a product or service that you could somehow put in the VR or the AR space. So that's something that's probably going to become much bigger, especially once Apple releases their AR headset. I think that'll kind of go from there. I know Facebook has had some waning, a little bit of disappointment with their VR headset, and they just re-released like their third iteration of it here within the last month or two. But data ownership and transparency, evolution of influencer marketing. I can think that kind of goes with some of the stuff we mentioned before, as far as not realizing that something's an ad on TikTok because so-and-so, Joe Jonas or Taylor Swift or whoever it might be like trying to advertise certain things.
I do think that the interesting thing with regard to influencer marketing is, I feel like that the big like the influencers, certainly there's products that, if Taylor Swift were to promote a certain type of makeup or something, certainly that would have a benefit. But I actually think micro influencers are a lot more interesting space. And like a particular town that you're in, or if you have a small business, there's probably people in your town that don't have, 500,000 followers, but maybe have 15,000 followers that are in and around your town. And I feel like there's an ability to potentially engage micro influencers in a way that it could actually help small businesses in a town versus thinking about the big. Like everybody thinks when you talk about influencers, you're talking about, the Kardashians or Taylor Swift or whatever. But the reality is that, an influencer might be somebody, right in your own town that just has a lot of people that follow their advice or follow their Instagram page or things like that. So I think the micro influencer thing is interesting. I do feel like that. I do feel like with AR and VR and things of that nature that it's still in flux, but I definitely feel like if anything, I think you have to be open to everything is changing. I think AR, AI, all these things are coming to a head all together. And I just really feel like the way that people are advertising and the way they've been successful today is not going to be the way they're going to be successful 18 months from now, 24 months from now. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you exactly what that looks like. All I can tell you is you have to remain flexible. You have to remain willing to adapt because things are going to change. And I think with some of these things, they could change pretty substantially in the next 18 to 24 months.
No, I think you bring up a great point with micro influencers. We had a question a couple of weeks ago about how do I engage my local community? And I think that's maybe one of those things. It's try to figure out some sort of partnership, whether it's in my head, I'm like, there's plenty of car dealerships that have bad commercials that are out there that I always see all the time. Yep. So whether it's you maybe not are a part of the bad commercial, or I shouldn't say bad commercial, but just the ones you see all the time, and you're like, okay, that probably needs a little sprucing up. But you know the name. And here in Chicago, there's like Bob Rohrman. There's always different names that you kind of are synonymous with your community. And so whether it is you figure out a way to be a part of that commercial or part of their marketing structure, or figure out some sort of way that you could do some sort of an event or different things like that with somebody who either is a name that they see on TV, or if it's something that you just see pretty popular within your community while you're looking on social. I think that's a great way to try to engage the local audience, especially if you have a tin shop or something where you want to get people to you. I think that's going to be a new way to try to engage different people. And that, I was gonna say, I think that's a great idea as far as how this goes. And that it is.
Well, and I think that real quick, I mean, I'm trying to think of the best ways. What's old is new again. I'll say that. Like, I feel like the pendulum has swung a little bit. Everybody went the route of Amazon, big box stores, online. And I feel like there's a lane in local marketing to get back to doing things where the community really sees you. The local community I'm in, there is a sporting goods store that really invests and is really like, you know, tied in to the high school sports scene, all those different things. Now, every single thing they sell in that store, I'm confident that I could go online and find cheaper than I can buy it there. From lacrosse sticks to cleats to you name it, I'm confident that I could probably go online and find it. But because they're so embedded in the local high school sports scene, and they're there and they're engaged with the community, people, that store is always busy, and people are willing to spend a little bit more on cleats or spend a little bit more on a lacrosse stick because they want to support them, because they see how they're supporting the community. And that was something that just a number of years ago, people were all thinking that was like something in the past. I do feel like there's a lane for people to have that tangible, you know, find a way to be relevant and engage in your community. And I feel like there's still a lane to where that really works, and more so maybe today than it would have even worked a couple years ago, because I do feel like the pendulum has swung back from. That's why I asked you when we first started talking, and you were like, everything's like on the way in transit. I know this year I've personally like went out to stores and bought more than I have in the past, because I think we sort of got away from that. And people were like, it sort of takes a little bit of the fun out of Christmas that I ordered everything online. I never even had to go. For some people might be like, God bless, I don't want to go to the stores. But I think for some of us, it's just, I went out with my daughter the other night, and it wasn't about what we actually bought. It was just being out, you know, going in and out of the stores, taking part in the whole Christmas, you know, rush and everything like that. So I feel like some of the things that people thought was like old and passe and gone, revisit those. I'm not saying every one of them will work, but I think some of those things are coming back into fashion again.
No, and with you saying that, like, everything that I purchased was from a boutique shop. None of it was on Amazon or Target, besides maybe the tea that I got her that she was looking for. But it was from these small boutique shops, whether it was through Etsy or through some other way. And for me, I feel like that was something I wanted to do as well, as what, like, shop small. I didn't want to be just getting stuff on big box dealerships. It's like one of the things is pretty bespoke to her. It's going to have like the dog's names on it and stuff. So it's something that's definitely
your wife could be watching this. You're giving them,
like I said, she was the one that kind of recommended this gift.
Okay.
She put me in the right direction. So it's one of those where it's very personalized, and it's from a small shop. So for me, and that's one of the things here too, it's that we were mentioning micro influencers, and that was their first point, was with niche communities, with authentic connections, will likely hold even greater sway over an audience spending decisions. And that's kind of what happened to me. It's like, and it's dead on to what you were saying too. I wanted to have this connection with what we have, whether it's a personalized item, and I can't get that through an Amazon or a Target or a Walmart. It's like, you have to go to some of these smaller shops and find these different things that people like. And so I think that's the hope I would hope for everybody to kind of do.
There's an element to it of too, where it's like Amazon is this, you know, not nameless, but faceless sort of mass corporation that's worth billions of dollars, where I do feel like people are coming back to, I mean, I love the fact that it's like buying from a store and it's being like, okay, you know, that store is owned by somebody that's daughter goes to school with my son or whatever. Or even if it's not that, it's another individual, not this big corporation. And I feel like there's a way to tap into, again, no matter what your business is, I think there's time spent thinking. You could think about different things you could do, maybe tie into a localized influencer that maybe, you know, I know, you know, to speak a little bit about what we do, even in our local community here, we do some marketing and some different things like that for the local PTO and their website and help them take care of it. And that's not anything we make money on, but I think it's one of those things that just show that our company's giving back to the local community by helping the PTO have a website that works really well and has that. Again, that's one of those things where, you know, you might look at that and be like, how is that directly benefiting you? Well, in my opinion, it's part of just being part of the community. And I think when you start looking at those things like that and start looking at every transaction, like, how does this benefit me? You start looking like, how can I be a better part of the community? I think you'll find that plenty comes back your way if you're doing that.
Yeah, that my buddy, I had a call with him this week, kind of mirroring that same thought, and he's trying to figure out how to get his business off the ground. And it's something that we've mentioned before in the past. It's don't be such a sales pitch, like just kind of go in and give value and kind of explain what these tools or services that you do be without having to say, hey, I sell this. Like, it's no, this is what would help you. This is the value that I think you should try. It's whether it's mine or somebody else's, like, hey, this is the path that I would do if I was in your shoes. And then that way you kind of, like you mentioned before, being a thought leader of someone who's like, hey, this person has a good idea. I kind of want to go check and see what they're up to, or kind of what other new ideas that they have. Or, hey, if you're like we said before, whether you have a tint shop, like explaining why paint protection has its benefits, of why this is something, no matter who or what brand you're getting it from, these are the benefits that kind of come with it. Here's the window film benefits that, like, if you're going to do this, whether it's you're going to put it on your minivan for your kids to kind of protect from UV protection. So it's kind of explaining what these products and services are is a good way to kind of at least just give people value, and then they can turn around and if they want to purchase it versus, and they feel more comfortable, like you mentioned before, of someone who's just reciting a script and just kind of pitching, you kind of get that, like, I don't know if I really want to work with this person because they just think of me as a number or a wallet, versus someone who's, hey, this guy actually cared what I thought, had a question or two about what I was trying to do, and kind of gave me some ideas in a direction. And then that's hopefully, obviously it's not going to be every person's not going to turn around, but your chances are better that that person's either going to refer somebody because, oh, I thought of this, or this guy reminded me about doing this type of thing.
I just had that. Our family just had that happen this weekend. We were making a buying decision as a family, and we met with two different companies. One of them came in with the hard sell, all the details, just trying to close us and everything like that. The other one came in and just really trying to understand what we needed and just really no hard sale or whatever. And we chose the second one miles away. We were all unified in, like, because the other person just came across like we were just an invoice they were trying to gather. And the other thing I would say as well is, you know, you'd mentioned paint protection, and like you're thinking, okay, how could I do this? Like, be involved. I was just thinking while you were saying it, things like, what if you went down, and I guarantee you, I don't know this for a fact, but I almost guarantee you that the local, like fire engines for your local fireplace, your fire station, they have some high wear areas on those fire engines, probably. Not the whole front end. I'm just talking, they probably have some areas where maybe the hose comes out, whatever, that it's a high wear area. How cool would it be to say, hey, I'm not even charging them. I went down to the local fire department and I applied some paint protection film to protect their fire engines and some of the high wear areas. You're doing something for the community, but guess what? You're also putting the fact that you sell paint protection in front of people in a way that you're sort of killing two birds with one stone. You're putting paint protection in front of people, but you're also doing something positive for the community I think if you sit and think about it, there are countless ways that you could put your product and or services in front of people without being salesy, and do it in such a way that people are going to think, man, those guys are pretty cool. They did that for the fire department, you know, and, you know, you just don't.
You know, like too many good secrets there, Pat.
Hey, I'm just saying, I mean, hey, there's a lot. I mean,
no, that's
there's
exactly.
a lot of things that you can do, but you have to sort of take yourself out of things being all about you and figure out. I think if you are doing some of these things and you're thinking about how can I benefit the community first, the part that comes back to you is going to take care of itself. I think you can't think about like, okay, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to spend 3 hours at the fire station. I'm going to burn up $100 worth of paint protection doing a couple of these areas, whatever. Well, you know, think about it like this. If you land one job because of that, you've more than paid for the $100 in material and a couple hours of your time. And you potentially can benefit a lot more than that. Who knows how long that's going to be on there? Who knows how many of the firefighters are going to mention that story? Whatever the case may be. My point is, you know, there's a lot of opportunities, and I think that think about ways you can do some of those things instead of spending money with Google. Maybe it makes more sense to spend money doing something like that, and you might get more localized ROI than spending a couple $100 with Google. I'm not telling you we're in the business of helping people spend money on advertisement, but first and foremost, we're in the business of helping people make wise decisions to help them grow their business. I don't care about you sending money to Google. I don't care about you sending money to Meta. I want you to get results. And if those results mean doing other things, that's what I mean. You have to be willing to reevaluate what you're doing. I know that the next 18 to 24 months, things are going to change. I don't know right now because I don't have a crystal ball exactly what that's going to look like. But what I'm saying is our commitment as an agency is we're always going to be trying to help our clients navigate that process. And that may mean 2 years from now, I'm telling people don't spend any money with Google or don't spend any money with Meta. I don't know, but our job is going to be to help people navigate where they're going to get the best results, not, you know, tied into some traditional thing that's worked in the past. I think you have to be willing to evolve and you have to be willing to adapt because change is coming. I don't know what that change is, but I'm confident that it is going to change.